It's a love thing.
Rock with me, rock with me. Hello, Royal family. How everyone out there? It's a love thing, your 3-day fix with Zion Jones here at Rock Life Live. We have tonight an awesome guest for you, Robbie Wells, who has been doing presidency. He is running for presidency and for 2020. Awesome gentleman, inside out. And we're going to talk to him today about his journey, outside and inside journey of how it is to be in that political party, how it is to deal with things that has to do with the government and things of that nature. So we have a good show for you tonight. And thank you guys for joining in, rocking with me tonight. First thing I'd like to do is go ahead and talk to Rob in here. Rob, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you, Zion?
I'm awesome. And thank you for coming on here and spending this time with me and rocking with Zion and letting everybody know, get some information on what's going on with your campaign and what we can expect and some of the remedies that you have that we definitely look for and need here. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, Zion, it's truly a pleasure and an honor to be on the show tonight with you and to be able to speak with your audience, not only across the United States, but also across the world. I want to say hello to everyone and God bless everyone for being on here this evening. My name is Robbie Wells, and I am seeking the Democratic Party's nomination for President of the United States in 2020. I did run in 2016 as a Democrat as well. We were blocked from the debates right after we made national television on Fox News, and a lot of people have said that's because the Clinton camp was a little afraid of us, but we're from the old school that we never quit. So here we are again. But I'm probably, Zion, the most unlikely person to be on the phone telling you that he is running for president of the United States of America. You see, you're talking to a miracle, because many, many years ago, this beautiful young girl went away to college on a scholarship, a music scholarship. This girl could sing like nobody else could sing. And not only was she on scholarship there, but she also traveled across the country as the lead singer for this group. But like most young girls, she ended up falling in love. The man she fell in love with was older than her and married. One thing led to another, and all of a sudden there was an unwanted pregnancy. All of her friends and people around her were encouraging her to go ahead and terminate the pregnancy, telling her it was a blip on the radar, to the point where they set her up an appointment to terminate. And at the last moment, this beautiful young girl said, "No, I'm going to go ahead and put this child up for adoption and give this child a chance." I've always said if I could ever meet that beautiful young lady, I would thank her for setting my life in motion, because you see, that beautiful young lady is my birth mother. I was adopted when I was 6 weeks old by a Baptist minister and his wife right in the state of Georgia. And not only was my dad a minister, but he also was in politics. My father worked with one of our former presidents. He worked with Jimmy Carter when he was the governor of the state of Georgia. My father helped get him elected as president of the United States back in 1976 when I was just 8 years old. And it put a stamp of inspiration on me that one day I would run and I would become the president of the United States and lead this country and these people that we have in this nation back down the path of righteousness, because we've gotten a long way from it. It's about time that we turn back to it.
Absolutely. And that's why I love the fact that we as people, even when you look at the government, people look at them as being bigger than who we are, because we're all just normal people that go through normal things of life. And like you're saying, it's very important that we get the government back into the place where it has positivity, where it's on the laws, the true laws, which is God's laws versus man's law. And that is something certainly that we want to talk about. But what you've been, being adopted, so that's something that we have in common. And I think that, that's just an awesome thing. And I'm sure she can grow and so forth. But what I also wanted to talk about, too, with you, Robbie, I know that you had started in about 2011 in your campaign. Can you tell us a little bit about that first run?
Yeah, I did. Back on November the 21st, 2011, a lot of people thought that I was crazy because I went out on a limb and did something out of the ordinary. You see, I had been a college football coach for 20 years, and I had known my whole life that I was going to step away from my career and move into politics. I had not made that known publicly while I was in the middle of my career, but I sure enough did. Back on November the 21st, 2011, I did announce that I was going to run for president. Now, I was going to run in the 2012 election, and that's when President Obama was running for re-election. And I knew that I could not run as a Democrat and get in any debates with him because he was not going to have to face anybody in the primaries. So I did the next best thing. I ran as an independent. I was in 10 debates. We won all 10 debates and got that debate experience and went across the country. And then, of course, that set us up for 2016. I've always believed that in business, in politics, in sports, whatever the case may be, you have to work extremely hard to have a chance at victory. It doesn't mean that you're going to get victory. But here's one thing that you are guaranteed. You're guaranteed if you quit, you're going to get failure. So quitting has never been an option. We started where we were just crawling, just like a baby has to crawl before he walks, walk before he runs. In 2012, we were crawling. In 2016, we got up and we were walking. But here in 2020, now that we've gotten out there in 2016 with the goal of having enough activity to get the right people behind us that can actually put some money towards this campaign to help propel us on the national stage, now we're actually running, Zion. And I truly believe that we've got a chance to win the White House here in 2020.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So being it that, the 2011, and like you said, it's always a process.
Yes.
And like you said, started, and what I love about it is you had told me prior as far as how you got started. I want to know exactly, tell the audience exactly what, I know it was that you were told that you were going to be about president and so forth as a child. But what was it, something that was just rooted in you and it just sparked? I mean, how did it just spark? Because like you said, you were doing football, you were in a whole different lane of doing something different. And something just hit you and you just ran for it. What was that?
Well, I've known since I was 8 years old that one day I would run for and become the president. You see, back in 1976, when I was 8 years old, my family friend, Jimmy Carter, was running for president. And just a few days before the actual election, we were in Plains, Georgia, at his home. And I remember that he was there. Now, thinking back on it now as a grown man, I'm wondering, why was he there? He should have been out campaigning, but he was home. And I remember looking up at him and saying, "You're going to be the president of the United States," as an 8-year-old kid. And he looked down at me and he said, "One day you will be too." And when somebody tells you something like that, and that person goes on to be the president, you really just don't forget it. And then of course, I put that in my heart. It was a stamp of inspiration that I had, and you know, I went through a normal childhood, had a great childhood, growing up in the South, and of course, growing up in the church and in my father's church, and that was in Georgia, in Alabama, and in South Carolina. But it was always there, and I knew that I did not have to be a career politician to get there, because President Carter was not a career politician. He was a peanut farmer. So I knew that I could go into my love as far as a profession was concerned, which was educating and coaching young people. And you know, so for 20 years I was motivating young people on the football field. But the entire time I was preparing myself for a political run, which I am in the middle of right now. Another thing that really struck me, it was a moment right after I took my last coaching job, which was the head coaching job at Savannah State University. I took that job on December the 22nd, 2007, and just 6 weeks later, on the night of the Super Bowl, it was very much a defining moment, because here's what happened. My late father, he passed the night of the Super Bowl 10 years ago. He was an inspiration to me. He instilled in me the desire to live a life full of integrity and courage. When I arrived at the emergency room, I realized this was going to be the last time that he and I were going to ever speak. We had become really close friends, like brothers, as I grew into my adulthood. You see, Zion, whenever I had major decisions to make, I would ask my dad for advice. He was a brilliant man. He had studied to be an engineer at Georgia Tech. Our conversation started as normal, talking about the game and my new position as the head football coach at Savannah State University. Because just 6 weeks earlier, I had been awarded that job, and I saw my dad the happiest that I had ever seen him. The conversation quickly turned into last words that we would speak to each other. And my dad always talked about the 3 F's, which was faith, fight, and finish. I knew he was fading, but I promised my dad that I would take care of Mom Wells. I also promised him I would live by integrity and courage. And I promised him I would live by faith, that I would fight for what and for who I believed in, and that I would finish my goals and one day become the President of the United States. So that's what I live by. I live by faith, fight, and finish.
I love that. Faith, fight, and finish. That's awesome. What I like to share with everyone, which I think is so powerful about President Wells, we'll call it fourth. We're going to call it a done deal. It's just you've been rooted and grounded, being rooted and grounded from the beginning, even in the adoption, understanding that was all, meant to be. It was divine, and for you to have the parents that you had and to be blessed with the parents that you had, and in order for that to be instilled in you. Now you have that word, you have that faith, you were rooted in a home that had the love of God, which is most important, which is the most important law, which is the law of love that you had, and you were rooted and grounded in that. And then as you like you said, you did your teaching, you went into your teaching, and after you did your teaching, you always carried that seed with you, and now that you're running for president right now, you're certainly on a same kind of field, because it's like tackle. I'm sure that you could tell the audience the tackle, the things that you have went through, catching that ball and having to, tumble it and, go through it, trying to get to the line, getting that touchdown. I'm sure if you were to put that parallel, you can actually line it up to similar how the game was when you were actually a coach. Am I right about that?
You're exactly right. And let me just go back to one of the Christmas carols, "O Holy Night." There's a part in one of the verses that says, "God's law is love, and his gospel is peace. Now, you want to talk about God's law and man's law tonight and the difference. But now, let me just say this. Yes, I want to be the president of the United States, and I want to uphold man's law. But how cool will it be to have a godly man that's living a Christ-like life doing that?
Yes, and that's why I'm saying vote for Robbie Wells. Vote for Robbie Wells, because that's what we need. We need someone that's rooted and grounded in the Word, the truth, And so that, let me tell you, and like you said, you've been pressing through it. I've known Robbie for a little bit now, and I've known him when in that crawling state, as you may say, and the pressing, pressing forth, no matter what it was or how hard it was. You kept pressing, pressing and praising. I say pressing and praising, and that's important. And knowing that when you're in that position, understanding that it is a spiritual battle that we go through. It is a spiritual situation when you're even in government. Even though we look at it from a physical point, it still is a spiritual battle. And we need someone in there that can stand no matter what the storm is, no matter how tough it is, will stand on those godly principles, So,
well, Zion, let me just say this to you, Zion. Faith that is not tested cannot be trusted. And, anybody can have faith when you're out there on the football field and you're winning 56-0. But how about if you're losing 56-0? Where is your faith then? Where's your faith if you lose your home? You see, I've been on top of the world and I've been on the bottom of the world. I've had a great paying job. I've lost it and had absolutely nothing. You want to talk about having your faith tested. Run for president of the United States and start from scratch. A lot of people will appreciate this. You may think I'm crazy, but it was a calculated risk. You see, back in the early stages, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to run. It's time. But if I am going to ask other people to believe in me, I've got to believe in myself first, and I've got to lay it on the line. So, as a single guy that did not have any family really as a responsibility, I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have a calculated risk here. I'm going to go ahead and sell my home, sell the furniture, everything, and put everything into this campaign. Get out here and create as much activity as I possibly can so that we can get the right people on board with us across this country, build a great team, get the financial backers that we need so that we can go ahead and do this. Well, that exactly happened. And now, because of that faith that I had, things are truly coming into fruition. Now we've got campaign headquarters right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I just moved into a beautiful new condo in a gated community so that I'm going to be safe and I'm going to be secure while I'm running for president. And I'm really excited about our opportunities. If you think about the Rise Up movement, when I started it back in 2011, I was hoping that one day that it would be a national movement, that Rise Up would be a national movement. But my God's bigger than my thinking, and here I am 7 years later, and the Rise Up movement is international. Just this past year, I spoke in Jinan, China, in front of 30,000 people. Then went on over to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, last July, and had the opportunity to speak on top of the world in the Eiffel Tower. And then this past October, had the opportunity to speak to the Jain community in Mumbai, India, to about 10,000 people there. Speaking also in Los Angeles, California, and San Bernardino to thousands of people. The same in Greenville, South Carolina, and Rock Hill, South Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia, and being able to travel all over the United States and be able to meet some of the neatest people with some of the greatest stories that I hold dear in my heart and that I'll keep with me for the rest of my life.
Yes. And that's why I want everybody to know Robbie Wells, the man, the one that came up in a faith home and that seed carried with him. And from a child of 8 years old, was told that he was going to be president. And that seed that's in him has been what? Watered, nurtured, and by golly, I could tell you, this man has had faith. He has trust in God in his walk. He has lived it, and he has actually, you can see the transformation happening, not just in the inside, but all around you. And so I am so elated to just be able to interview you and to bring you out into the forefront, with even the audience that I have, to let them know of a good choice that we can make for 2020. Someone that is rooted and grounded, and that is so necessary, so necessary. And today, as we know that a love thing is the 3-day fix, and we're talking about here is God's man's law. And I wanted you guys to meet Robbie so you can understand, too, what it is to actually take that God's law wherever you are and execute it. No matter what man's law is or what the government is doing, we have to stand for the first law, the most important law, which is the law of God. So we're going to be taking a break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about Robbie Wells coming 2020, that we're going to definitely be looking for him to be the man to help us rise up as a community, rise up as a people, rise up doing the great things that God has for us as a body of one. One moment, and we're going to go ahead and have some music come on, and we'll come back for our second phase. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Standing here, looking back on where I've been, all of the things that weigh me down, so many times I tried to make it on my own, but the fate of my life was insecure. I give it to you. You can use me as you please. I give it to you. You can use me as you please. For I entrust my future. Lord, let your glory be. So you can get the glory out of my life. I surrender my life to you. So you can use me. Lord, I'm available. Lord, let your glory be. Get the glory, God, out of this mess of my life. I submit to your will, to do all you command. This time I'm made up. I am yours. Totally yield myself to you. I stand here set free today. Thank you for what you've done in me and what you're gonna do, God. I give you full control of my life. This time I made up in my mind. I'm completely yours. I'm erased. You transformed my heart into a heart of love. Lord, I'm so indebted to you for saving my soul. You told me to humble myself, and you would do a work in me. You told me I'm not my own, but I'm bought with a price, yeah. Whom the Son set free is truly free indeed. I'm free. Lord, I just give you praise and honor. You put dancing in my feet, God. Lead me into thy righteousness. Make my path straight. I yield my heart to you, God. Lord, I surrender my life to you. Preserve me, oh God. In thee I get my refuge, God. Be pleased with my life. I wanna be the apple of your eye, create in me a clean heart and renew in me the right spirit. I place my life at your feet. Mold me, make me after your will.
Thank you for rocking with Zion Rock Life. Yes, yes. We have today with us in the house is presidential candidate for 2020, Robbie Wells. Robbie Wells. We're talking about who he is as the man and who he is as the president and all the great things that he has actually done since 2011 by putting that seed that was inputted in him at the age of 8 years old, and that's been nourished for up to this time, and that he is doing great things, and we are glad to have him on the show. Robbie, do I have you here with me?
I am here, Zion.
All right. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is actually the tragedy, as you know, that they had here not too long ago, a few weeks ago, in Florida, with that a 19-year-old guy, Nicholas Cruz, who was booked, had actually did 17 deaths at the high school. And the reason why I want to bring this up, because I know that there was a remedy, a perfect solution that you have with the vets for our youth that can be in this type of danger. Would you like to go ahead and explain that to us?
Yeah, sure, Zion. You know, as a former educator and coach, and having most of my adult professional career being in education, when I started seeing the gun violence in the schools, I had to step back and take a pause because we've had some major problems in this country. And back in 2012, we all remember Newtown, Connecticut, and Sandy Hook Elementary School, where the babies, these 6 and 7 year old children, were gunned down by a psychopath. And just this past week on Valentine's Day, this young man goes into Marjorie Stoneman High School and takes the lives of 17 people. One of them actually was a football coach that stood in the way of bullets from hitting other students. In my humble opinion, Coach Price truly is a hero, and he should be remembered that way for a very long time. But I did take a pause. Anytime I see a major problem, I take a pause to see if there's anything that I can come up with. I talk with my advisors. I seek advice from my Heavenly Father, especially if it's something that just seems like a difficult situation that you can't really grasp and get a true solution for. Because you see, here in the United States, we do have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment allows us to bear arms. It allows us to protect ourselves and our family. The only problem is sometimes people that are not law-abiding get those weapons and they do some very bad things with them. So I wanted to look at the problem and look at the argument on both sides. You've got one side with the NRA that is very strong. I mean, we've got over 300 million weapons. We've got more weapons in the United States than we do people. So they've done a very good job getting their point across. On the other side, on the liberal side, you've got people wanting to completely get rid of the guns. So I had to step back and say, if there's that many weapons, getting rid of them, that's probably, not going to happen. So is there anything else that I can come up with? And I did. I came up with this after taking a pause for about 2 weeks back in 2012. My plan is called Vets for Kids. And this plan will actually protect every child in every school across this country. And when I say protect them, where we will no longer have gun violence like we have had before. We can protect every child in every school across this country by taking our unemployed veterans and put them through a screening process and a training process to get the right ones in place, and then put them in every school across this country as guardians for our children. I've actually done a cost analysis and how we're actually going to pay for this to put these veterans in place. But we're going to send a clear message to these psychopaths because they're out there and they know that schools are open field targets for them because there are no weapon zones. But by putting these veterans in these schools, we're going to send a message to these psychopaths that the schools are going to be off limits. I know that this plan will work. You see, a couple of years ago, the Charleston Nine, we all remember the young man that went down to Charleston, South Carolina to the Wednesday night Bible study down in the basement of that church. And he killed 9 people. 2 weeks after that massacre, I sat right there in the basement of that church at that same Bible study, knowing that I was completely safe and everybody else was in that room was safe. Why? Because there were armed guards there. It was after the fact, but nobody was going to come in there because there were armed guards. I tell you that because we can do that not only in schools, but if churches wanted to do it, they could protect themselves too. Imagine if that was the case of that church just 3 months ago out in Texas. See, nobody even talks about that church anymore. But over 30 people lost their lives there. So I want you to think about this too. Now, in 2016, I was blocked from the Democratic debates by the Clinton camp. because they knew that we were going to have a really good chance in the debates against her. And they wanted to do everything they could to win. So we were blocked. Now think about this. Imagine if we were not blocked. Imagine if we had actually won that nomination and gone up against Mr. Trump and actually won the White House in 2016. There'd be 17 kids right now that would still be alive down in South Florida, because you see, on my first day as President of the United States, I'm going to sign an executive order that's going to put Vets for Kids into action across this country. And I'll keep that as an executive order until Congress puts a bill in front of me where I can actually sign it into law. So we're going to take care of our people. You know, I serve a great big loving God, and God is love. And we're supposed to be about love too. But sometimes tough love is a good love. And I've learned that lesson as a coach. Maybe, just maybe, that's what our country needs, is a good coach.
Yes, I agree. And I think that remedy is very well taken with the veterans to be able to, and it gives them something to do as well. And I want to get more into that too with you next week, especially dealing with the vets, and go more into what will make them qualified, what type of testing and so forth that they will be doing, you know, to actually deal with these type of circumstances. So I really, really appreciate our first phase, you know, because this is a 3-day fix, and this is our first fix with presidential candidate Robbie Wells, and learning him as a man of God, and a man of law, and a man that is going and working actually in politics in this government to make change, and being able to see how he transformed and evolved and make this happen on a spiritual level. And I love that you've come on here with me, Rob. And basically, I would like for you to, if there's one more thing you want to say very quickly, because I know that we're going to be pushing on, but I definitely want to get into talking about those veterans, because I think that's really important and a great idea that you have in so many areas that can help us as well. Just not only for the youth, but, you know, we had a big tragedy too in Las Vegas. And, you know, tragedies are happening all over the world right now. So that will really work.
Well, you're exactly right. And my plan would actually work in churches. It would also work in movie theaters, concerts, any sort of social event where there's a gathering of people. We can put our veterans back to work. In fact, just in the schools, we can put over 500,000 of them back to work. So I'm coming up with solutions to actually put over 500,000 people back to work. Now you think about that. Now that's a major solution for somebody that's actually running for president to say, and at the same time saving kids' lives at the same time. You see, I truly believe that it's time for us to lay aside all of our differences and start working hand in hand, side by side. It's time for us to stare down the fear of our differences with the face of courage, so that we can have the boldness to love and the courage to serve each other. You know, you think about the boldness of love and the courage to serve, the love of a single mom that works a job to the middle of the night just to put food on the table for her children, the love of an overworked and underpaid school teacher that serves those students just so that they can get ready for life, the love of country for our young people that serve in the military and lay their lives on the line for you and me, the love of a volunteer that serves homeless veterans without even a pat on the back, and the love of a bald-headed football coach that loves his country and is willing to serve as president of the United States, and his belief that this country has a place for him too, the boldness to love and the courage to serve. Everybody listening, y'all can go on the campaign website at riseupwithrobbie.com. That's riseupwithrobbie.com. And if you want to learn more about Vets for Kids, there is a documentary about my life where I go into detail right there on that website.
All right, there we go. Robbie Wells, Bobby Wells. Vote for Robbie Wells, and I am so excited and elated about this. And this presidential candidate, definitely Robbie Wells 2020. We definitely want to look out for him. He will be back with us next week, talking about what the most important law. The most important laws we know is the law of God, and how do we operate, which is the love of God. His law is his love. And like you said, when you operate and you exude that, and you, no matter what you're going through, what the temptations are, what the trials, the persecution, whatever you got to do, you have to press through it in that true law and watch things transform around you like it's doing for our presidential candidate, Robbie Wells. And we look forward to him coming back with us next week to talk about all the different remedies and things that can be actually operated here so that we can transform lives, transform communities, transform. And it's only the love of God that can transform and will transform these things. But we need to know how to make it where it's parallel, where we can make these things actually work, and we can work these things. So again, thank you, Robbie Wells, for joining me again, and I look forward to next week. And you know what? Definitely, I want to know. I definitely know that you are a man of faith, and I am so happy. I like those 3 F's you talked about: faith, fight, and what's that third one? Finish. Faith,
finish the fight.
Finish. That's right. All right. Well, thank you, and thank you all for joining here, Rock Life Live. It's a love thing. Your 3-day fix right here on Positive Power XXI Christian Media Radio. I thank you for joining, Tina and Patrice and all of you, and Pam. If you ever have any questions, or if you want to book someone or advertise, don't hesitate. You can actually reach out to Rock Life Live at rocklifenetwork@gmail.com. rocklifenetwork@gmail.com. Again, thank you all, and I look forward to hearing and seeing you next week, same time, same place, right here on Rock Life Live. And see you then.
Rock Life Live. It's a love thing.